who is responsible for passing due diligence reference numbers downstream? This is a specific question that was addressed in the updated guidance and FAQs that the EU Commission recently published. And this has been an outstanding question since the simplified adopted text was agreed upon in December of last year. So what the guidance and FAQs have made clear is that the due diligence responsibility really lies on the primary upstream operator. That is something that I think there was no debate around in terms of when we're talking about the deforestation analysis responsibility and the legality due diligence responsibility. But really what was an outstanding question remained that obligation to pass the due diligence reference number downstream. Most companies were aware that the primary upstream operator has to pass the due diligence reference number downstream, but does the first downstream operator, that entity that in the simplified text has to retain that due diligence reference number, are they responsible for, one, identifying whether they are the first downstream operator in the downstream supply chain, which can be a fairly complicated process of identifying where you fall within that downstream supply chain. Is the first downstream operator responsible for making that determination? And two, are they responsible for actually requesting the reference number from their upstream supplier? What the guidance and FAQs clarified is that responsibility of passing the reference number downstream is entirely the responsibility of the upstream primary operator. The first downstream operator and trader, if they do not receive a due diligence reference number from their supplier, in the guidance and FAQs, it clearly states that they can, in good faith, assume that their supplier is not an upstream operator. So that means that they are not obligated to reach out to their supplier, their upstream operator, and request those reference numbers. This then takes away some of that risk for them in terms of being audited by competent authorities for the specific reference numbers for those goods. If they are not required to make the request and the primary operator is not sharing the reference number with them, then this really places both the responsibility and the risk on the primary operator to ensure that they are the ones that are maintaining that product traceability by sharing their reference numbers downstream. What the downstream operators and traders do need to continue to do to maintain some semblance of traceability under EUDR is they do still need to, when they do receive due diligence reference numbers, maintain them for the 5-year data retention period. That obligation has not gone away. And regardless of whether they're receiving due diligence reference numbers or not, they need to maintain a record of companies that they are selling their EUDR relevant products to. So that's companies that they're selling, continuing to sell their products to further downstream. This is really normal business records that any company would continue to maintain. They just are required to maintain those for that 5-year data retention period under the law. So that is a requirement that the EU put in place to maintain, again, some semblance of traceability for EUDR relevant products, that even if there is some breaking of the traceability from the primary operator to those downstream operators and traders, they do still want the downstream operators and traders to maintain a record of who they're selling the EUDR relevant products to downstream. So this does clarify things for downstream operators and traders in terms of whether or not they need to be making requests and also whether or not they need to be identifying their specific role within a product supply chain.